right, hello everybody. We are talking about dramas and poetry this week, which is one of my all-time favorite units in class, but we can't do that. So this is what we're going to do instead. So you're probably like, what's a drama? I think drama is when girls fight. No, that's not what I'm talking about. A drama is actually another name for a play for theater, radio, or television that is often written in a script. So you know that if you read a book, it's usually called like a novel or just like a hard copy book. A play, when you write a play, it's actually written in a form called a script. And I'm going to show you an example of that a little bit later. But think about if you've ever seen a play. If so, what did you notice about it? It's not like a movie. It's just a little bit different. So that is what a play or a drama is. Before I go into the next slide, though, I want to tell you something about a radio play or radio drama. So way back when, before they used to have TVs, they used to do plays for radios. And they actually had one that actually got a lot of attention. It was Orson Welles' War of the Worlds, I think is what it was called. And it was about aliens invading the United States. And people thought that it was real. And so people were like, oh my gosh. There was a big outrage. People thought that this was true. They didn't think it was a play. And then it ended up getting a lot more attention than it really wanted because people took it as truth that there were actually aliens. So that was a popular radio drama. They actually don't really do radio plays that often anymore because once television became a thing, it kind of took over. So now we just have theater plays. So you could go to Broadway in New York City and watch plays. Even to like bigger cities like Quincy and watch a play, or even Kirksville. You can go to the colleges, or you can just see it on television. Some more examples of dramas. So one personal one that you have been to, I know for a fact, is the Christmas program that you just were involved in a couple months. So the 5th grade portion where they acted, that was a play, essentially. You just kind of watched, but next year you guys will get to do the play part. Another example is Annie. Annie's a really famous one. That's this picture over here about an orphan who ends up going and living with this millionaire, billionaire, and she completely changes their life. So that's Annie. The Lion King Live is another big one. That's a fairly new one. It's just like the Lion King movie, but they made it a play, and so people are acting in it. Wicked is another one. I haven't seen Wicked before, but I've heard it's really good. Hamilton is another one. That's an old one. So here's a picture of Hamilton. And then probably one of the most famous ones other than Romeo and Juliet is the Phantom of the Opera. So that's this one right here. It's really, really old. Okay, so a drama isn't like a book. A drama has a lot of different parts to it. Okay, so think about a drama in terms of acts and scenes. Okay, so it's composed of different parts. We have acts and we have scenes. So acts are like my big part of my umbrella. If I were to draw an umbrella right here, they're also similar to chapters in a book. And then the scenes are underneath my umbrella. If I were to keep drawing my umbrella, there's smaller sections within the acts. So again, I have acts, which are like my umbrella topper, and then I have scenes, which are underneath my acts. They're just smaller sections within the acts. And again, I'm going to explain that in just a second with a picture. So here is my acts and my scenes. So this is an example of something we would have done in class, and I'm going to show you another example later of Alice in Wonderland, the full script. But here is just a synopsis of the scenes, which is just a summary of the scenes in this Alice in Wonderland play. So we have acts. Remember, this is like the top of my umbrella, and beneath the acts, we have different scenes. So you can see that in Act 1, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different scenes, okay? And then down here, I have Act 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 scenes as well. Okay, so again, acts are like the big chapters. Scenes are the sections within the acts. Okay, here's another example. This is called A Bad Case of Stripes. So all the author did here, and the author or the playwright is David Shannon. All he did was he took A Bad Case of Stripes and he made it a drama or a play. Okay, so a drama is written in a script. A script is a special form that a play is written in that contains a list of the characters, the lines, and the stage directions. So here's the script. Again, so if you were to read a hard copy book, it would be called a book or a novel. But if you're writing a play, your play is written in what it's called a script. So this is a script. So when actors act, they read from a script. So this is my script. So here is my list of characters. And then here are their lines. So each one of these is a line. Line, 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 line. So here's my characters, narrator. Okay, I have narrator 3, narrator 4, and then it goes back. So These are, again, my lines. These are my characters, and usually I'll have like an act or scenes, but this one is really small, and obviously the playwright or the author didn't decide to add acts or scenes in this one. But normally I would have acts, scenes, characters, and I would also have what's called a stage direction. And a stage direction is just a little cue for the actor to do something. This one doesn't have it, but usually I'll have it on the side. So I'll show you an example of that in just a second. So one thing that I just pointed out was a narrator, and you're probably like, I don't really remember what a narrator is. A narrator is a person who gives the audience information about what's going on in the play. They're just kind of like standing on the outside, telling them what's going on, and their name is always just narrator. In my other example, so in this example, I had more than one narrator. Playwrights do this so they can give more people lines, just so they can get more people involved in the play. Let me get my little pointer out. We also have different parts called a playwright and stage direction. So I just mentioned this on the other slides, and you're probably like, I don't really know what that is. A playwright is the person who writes the script. So back here, my playwright would be David Shannon. So it's not really an author, but it is an author. But if you're writing a play, you're called a playwright. Okay, and then I also have stage directions. So these directions are included in the dialogue, and the dialogue is just the talking and tell the actor or the actress what to do. So sometimes they're in parentheses, which is just these two lines, or it's written in italics, which is just the slanted lines. And they tell the actor where to move and how to say their lines. So here's an example. So I have Alice saying, "But whatever do you mean?" And she's supposed to say that in a worried voice. So this would be a stage direction for Alice to say her line in a particular way. I could also say, Alice, but whatever do you mean? And then she's supposed to go up to another character. That would be another stage direction, okay? So stage directions aren't something that you say, it's something that you act or act out. So in this case, she were to say this line in a worried voice. Okay, another thing, dramas are super, super, super duper similar to fiction novels. It's a story just like a novel would be a story. So because it's a story, they have a setting, they have a plot, they have a dialogue, and they also have a cast. So your setting is your time and place in which the drama takes place. Again, you're usually going to find this out in the beginning. Your plot is your beginning, middle, and end of the play. Again, it's a story just like you would read in a book. It's the same thing except it's a different format, and that's the only thing that's going to throw you off is that it's in a different format. And then you also have dialogue. This is the lines that the characters speak in the play. So remember how I showed you on the other slides how narrator 1, narrator 2, narrator 3, narrator 4 all have different lines? Those are called dialogue. And they often tell what the character is thinking or feeling. So the narrator is huge in this. And then I also have the cast of characters. This is the people in the drama or the play. So if I go back, here are my cast of characters. Here are my lines. This is also called dialogue, and you know that your narrator often tells you what's going on in the play. Okay, so now we are going to switch gears, and I am actually going to show you the Alice in Wonderland Reader's Theater that we usually do in class, but unfortunately we're not in class to do it, so I think this week we're going to actually do it on Zoom instead. So we're going to act it out just like we normally would, but before we do that, I'm going to show you the entire thing. So you know, kind of putting all of this stuff together, you know what a full drama looks like. Okay, so here is our script of Alice in Wonderland, and I'm so bummed because this is what we normally would have done as a reader's theater in class, meaning that I would assign you lines and we would act out the play and it would be a big deal, but we're not in class to do it. So I'm just going to have to do this, and maybe we can Zoom the play later this week. So I have my title, which is obviously Alice in Wonderland. I have adapted by Michelle L. Vaca, and then it also says based on Lewis Carroll's classic fantasies. I'd probably say that both of them are my playwrights. This is the original playwright, Lewis Carroll. He wrote it in the first place, but Michelle L. Vaca, she kind of changed it up. So I'm going to keep going. The first thing I have is my characters. So it just gives you your characters. Normally I'd be like, oh, Haley, you're Alice, and Michael, you're the White Rabbit, and Isaac, you're the Mad Hatter. I would assign you roles and we would act it out, but unfortunately we can't do that. So we're just going to have to do this instead. So it just gives you the characters and the description of them. Then if I keep going down, it tells you information about your costumes. And then if I keep going down, here is where my actual play starts. So you'll see Alice in Wonderland, and we have Act 1. Remember, under the act, we have different scenes. Some plays, kind of depending on how old they are and how long they are, they won't have all of those things, but a traditional play should have a couple different acts and a whole bunch of scenes within the act. So here it is. Here's Act 1. I have a narrator, as we have already gone over what a narrator is, and then we have dialogue. So remember, your dialogue is your talking. This is also called a line, so this is narrator's line 1, is what you could say. And then this right here is a stage direction. So this is giving the actor, the narrator, instructions on how to say his line, what he needs to do, and how to act. Okay, so if I keep going down, I have some more. So all of these are stage directions. So again, you wouldn't actually say the stage direction. So the narrator wouldn't say Tweedledum and Tweedledee either appear or they are heard backstage. Voices raised as though in an argument. The narrator wouldn't say that. They would just act it. Okay, so again, I have a line. Here's Tweedledum's line, here's Tweedledee's line, and then they're talking back and forth. So here is the whole entire script for Act 1. Alice comes in there, the Hatter comes in there, and then that is it for Act 1. So again, this whole thing is called a script, and I have a whole bunch of different components. I have characters, which is really a cast of characters. The cast of characters is the whole bunch. I have a dialogue, I have narrators, I have lines. It's similar to a novel, but it's different from a novel in that it's in a different format.